Have you found yourself in a place during your insomnia recovery where you want to travel, but you feel conflicted and unsure of how to make the decision of whether to stay or not? On one hand, you see that having the courage to travel is part of living our lives freely, which really helps us leave the struggle with insomnia. On the other hand, you are a bit frazzled about the thought that you may have trouble sleeping, things may set you back. You do not really feel confident yet to make the decision easily. You feel like you don't really know how to arrive at a place where you know what you want to do. If this sounds familiar to you, well, then just stay tuned. We are going to talk about exactly this and how to make the decision making easier. Welcome back. So glad that you are here tuning into this episode of Insomnia Insight. We're going to talk about something quite specific, which is making the decision of whether to travel or not when we are on this path of leaving insomnia land. And just as so many other episodes, the inspiration for this one also comes from conversation with one of our students. And this was in a group coaching session in our Insomnia Immunity program. We talked about this, and I thought this could be really helpful to bring to the community. And the scenario here was not the exact one, but it was very similar to this one. It was a student who said, "My family wants me to attend a graduation. My partner wants to go, but personally, I think I'd actually prefer staying home. I'm not quite sure I want to go. And I don't know what to do. Like, should I stay or should I go?" And actually, the student who asked this also, she said something like, "I know the answer. I know the answer is to go, but I'm not sure I'm there yet." Something like that. And whenever I get this type of question, whether the question is like, I've kind of avoided this. Should I go back to doing it or not? My standard answer is to talk about courage and kindness. And I think in this situation, it makes sense to start there as well. Courage and kindness definitely apply and are helpful guides. And what I mean with this, well, the insomnia struggle really comes from a place where our brain has misunderstood something that actually inherently is harmless, which is being awake at night, as a threat, as something dangerous, as something that can harm us. And we can, with this in mind, see the value of courage. Courage is to do the things that we have avoided, because that shows our brain that there is nothing actually that can harm us. Even if the thing that we have tried to avoid happens, we can see that we're still safe. We're still not harmed. We're still okay. So kind of the courage to do things that we've avoided is part of that experiential learning that can really help our brain see that there's no actual threat. So courage can be really, really helpful in that way. But kindness is also so helpful. Oftentimes we go into this process of leaving insomnia with so much pressure and so much push, and we think like, okay, I'm going to do everything I've avoided right now, right away. And that's just too much. We can think of our brain as this like little child who's scared. And if we just say, no, there's nothing to be scared of, go do all these things, it's like the child is just not ready for that. They may maybe take it a little easier and gentler. So kindness and not pushing ourselves is so helpful as well on our journey. Both courage and kindness are helpful. But there is something else we may want to think about, something more practical, something more tangible. And it's the following. When we think about traveling, we often think that there are sort of two scenarios. Either I stay home and I sleep fine, or I go on this trip and have trouble sleeping, and we kind of conflict about those two things. But in reality, there are 4 scenarios. There's 4 things that can happen. The first one is that we go on this trip, we travel, and we actually end up sleeping fine. Very, very common in our community that somebody decides to go on a trip, and often it's like the first night I didn't sleep so well, but actually after that I was fine. You go and generally sleep fine. Very common outcome. Number 2, you go and you have trouble sleeping, as you sort of predicted you would have. That is a possible outcome, certainly. Number 3, you stay home and sleep fine, which is also sort of what you predicted. You don't go and there's no struggle, you're okay. That is a possible outcome. But so is this one. You decide to stay home and not go, and you end up having a lot of trouble sleeping. That is also a very possible scenario. In fact, there is no way for us to predict what's going to happen. Whether you stay or go does not predict how you will sleep, because sleep belongs in these category of things that we cannot control. And in fact, in this call that I talked about, when I brought this up, these four scenarios, the person who asked the question actually said, yeah, I have actually avoided traveling for several months, and that hasn't kept me from having trouble sleeping, right? Highlighting that staying home does not guarantee whatsoever that we will not have trouble sleeping. And this actually can really help us make that decision of whether we stay or we go. Because when we see that we cannot actually predict what's going to happen, we cannot control our sleep, our thoughts, or our emotions, then what often can happen is that is removed. Our sleep, our thoughts, our emotions, how we feel, that is removed from the decision making. That no longer becomes part of it, because we see that there's no way to predict that. And then what happens is we make the decision of whether to travel or not based on our values, on what we feel like, what we want to do. And this is how we can make this decision making so much easier, by actually removing sleep from the equation when possible. If you're in a place where you feel like that's not possible for me, then deploy kindness. Maybe this is not the time. But if you see what we see now and you see that that's right, I made this assumption that if I stayed home, I would sleep fine, and if I go, I have trouble sleeping, but I can't predict that whatsoever, then you can be freed from that, and you can just base the decision on what you want to do in your life in general. And that makes the decision making so much easier. Hope this made a ton of sense to you. Let us know in the comment section if it didn't, or what you thought, or if you just have general comments or questions, put them there, and we will go from there. Look forward to seeing you in an episode very soon. Bye for now.
Hi there, it's me, Coach Daniel, and I wanted to say thank you to everyone out there who is spreading the word. You know what I've noticed in the last 6 months to 12 months or something like that is when I ask people how they found us, one of the most common answers is somebody told me on Reddit. And every time I hear that, it really warms my heart. It makes me so glad to hear that someone went out of their way to tell a fellow human about the Sleep Coach School. If you're one of those people out there spreading the word, I want to say thank you so, so much. And if you're not, then maybe you'll see an invitation in doing so, or you can simply hit the like button or hit the subscribe button. That alone helps so, so much in getting our teachings out there and helping more and more people in the world. That was all I want to say here. Thanks so much for tuning in, and can't wait to see you again.